Welcome to Health and Wellness, Myths versus Facts. I'm Ankita Mukherjee. Now, we've been dealing with a global pandemic since March 2020. It's had an impact on every aspect of our life. It's affected every corner of the world, physically, emotionally, and financially. The pandemic has brought about new challenges, feelings of uncertainty. Mental health is now a big factor. Stress, isolation, and uncertainty can exacerbate anxiety and depression in people who already have chronic illnesses like diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and it can lead to poor self-care and worsening health problems. Because so many of us are working from home, sleep rhythms have been affected. Stress and sleep deprivation have also in turn affected chronic metabolic conditions. Now, we probably don't talk about it enough. There are many misconceptions and doubts about all of this. As always, we have a panel of medical experts who will guide us through this. Joining us on the program, we have Dr. Prakash Kumar Hazra, MD, DM, DNB, FACC. He's the head, Department of Cardiology and Director of Cardiac Cath Laboratory with the Amri Hospitals in Kolkata. We have also Dr. R. Pradeep Kumar, MBBS MD, DM Cardiology, CMC Vellore, Head of the Department of Cardiac Sciences, Jayaprakash Hospital and Research Center in Rourkela. Well, Dr. Pradeep Kumar, then let me begin with you. What causes can in fact lead to a sudden heart attack in a healthy individual with no associated risk factors normally?
Hi. There are certain, so when we talk of risk factors, we usually talk of conventional risk factors like diabetes, hypertension, cholesterol, high cholesterol levels. But without these risk factors, when we talk about the healthy individuals having heart attack, we think of behavioral risk factors like lack of physical activity, smoking, and irregular dietary habits. So whatever we are seeing nowadays, heart attacks in healthy individuals are most probably because of these factors. And recently a study has been published in European Journal of Preventive Cardiology, according to which statistically the data shows that the percentage of healthy individuals having heart attack has increased from 11% to 27% over past 10 years. I mean, if every 1 in 4 individual having heart attack is a healthy person who gets a heart attack. So I think these are the risk factors like smoking or physical inactivity or irregular dietary habits.
Right. So, Dr. Pradeep Kumar, recovering from surgery, of course, can also take time and involve a great degree of discomfort. Many people react positively as they feel encouraged that they're on the way to good health again. But, you know, depression can sometimes develop because of all the restrictions that are advised, post-surgery. So, when it comes to managing stress and rehabilitation post-surgery, what are your recommendations?
So this is quite common, like depression immediately after post-surgery. When we talk of post-surgery, as I am from the cardiac field, I'll think more of cardiac, but we have to see in general, like a post-cardiac surgery, post-minimal invasive cardiac surgery, post-angioplasty, post-pacemaker implantations, or post-non-cardiac surgeries. So each and every, whatever small it may be, it may cause some sort of depression during the recovery. So according to American Heart Association, the percentage is quite high. It's about 25% for a post-cardiac surgery patient getting into depression. So there are certain symptoms which can help us to identify that the patient is going into a depression, like loss of interest in common activities, loss of appetite, tiredness, or anxiety, irritability, anger. These are the symptoms. But most of the time such symptoms may be because of some medications also. These may cause a loss of appetite and weakness. But usually these symptoms recover within 2 weeks of surgery.
Right.
When these symptoms persist for more than 2 weeks after the surgery, then you need to consult the concerned doctor and you have to discuss your symptoms with them. I will suggest three things, three important points which individual and patients can take care of themselves. First thing is positive thoughts. So set positive and realistic goals and celebrate your progress from surgery, however small it may be. Second thing is set a long-term goals rather than getting frustration that not being where you want to be as fast as you can. So just set a long-term recovery goals. Second thing is, these are the like positive things, attitude. Second comes exercise. So just go out and go for a walk. Usually for cardiac surgery patients, we start it in hospital. We try to ambulate them. And after 3 to 5 days of surgery, we ask them to walk at home and then they can gradually ambulate. And after say 10-15 days, they can walk out. So go outside. So change in us, scenery, change in our view also gives a positive thoughts into the mind. And exercise itself will boost their morality.
Right.
So these are the
you talk
factors,
about exercise, Dr. Kumar. So regular physical exercise is something that all doctors on this show keep stressing about. But can exercise actually help to relieve stress? And, what are the best and safest exercises for cardiac patients?
Yeah, yes, certainly exercises, they relieve the stress. Exercise, it decreases the stress hormones like cortisol and increases the another hormone called endorphin, which is like a feel-good hormones. So definitely it has a role. And coming to the patients with heart disease, I'll recommend aerobic exercises, aerobic or isotonic exercises. And these are nothing but brisk walk, slow jogging, swimming, cycling, this sort of activities. And there are certain points I want to tell to the individuals with the cardiac disease. Avoid isometric exercise like push-ups or sit-ups. They can do little bit, but it should not be too much. Second thing is this brisk walk, they should start slow and gradually they should increase the distance and the speed of walking. Rather than going, suppose somebody is not unaccustomed to brisk walk or jogging, suddenly they should not go onto the treadmill or go onto a ground and start running for 10 kilometers. These patients they are very vulnerable to develop heart disease or heart attacks. So it should be slow and gradual. Yeah. And finally, they should achieve a brisk walk or a jogging, whatever they want. Then they have to maintain that speed.
Okay.
And if a patient, somebody is having heart disease and they are going for exercise, if they feel breathless or tiredness or weakness or fatigue, they should stop the exercise immediately and take rest for some time. If they feel the heart is beating very irregularly or heartbeat is very fast, then also they should stop exercise, then should rest. So after resting, usually heartbeat comes down to the normal level within 15 minutes. If say beyond 15 minutes heartbeat is persisting above 120 beats per minute, then you need to consult your doctor.
Right.
Otherwise, exercise.
I think those are all important points you're making, Dr. Pradeep Kumar, because particularly in recent days, we've seen so many instances of people actually otherwise healthy and fit by all accounts, actually suffering from cardiac arrests while they were gymming or while they were exercising. There have been some sort of headline cases, as it were, and particularly this seems to have happened in the aftermath of them having COVID infections. So do you see a connection there?
Yeah. We have seen after COVID a lot of such instances. Especially COVID, what it causes in few patients, it affects the muscles of the heart and it decreases the efficiency of the heart muscles. That means pumping capacity of the heart goes down, or heartbeat may go to very high level, or it may slow down. Heart is not able to cope up with the exercise level or exercise stress. So such patients, when they are going for a exercise after COVID, they should get a thorough cardiac evaluation. They should get an echo, ECG, just to see how is the heart is functioning and how is the rhythm, whether the heartbeats are regular or heartbeat is in the range, or whether it's on the very slower side or on the very faster side. If such patients go on exercise, suppose they have stopped exercise for a few months and they now start exercising at a same previously, suppose somebody is going for a jog of some 3-4 kilometers, suddenly they start again say up to the same level, their heart will not be able to cope up with that much of stress.
Right.
So such patients may develop breathlessness or very fast heartbeat, and they may develop heart attacks also, or sudden cardiac death also may happen during exercise.
Right.
So
the important message then is to take it slow, build up slowly, and of course, listen to your body as much as possible, particularly see breathlessness as a warning sign. We will take a very quick break at this point. When we come back, there's lots more to talk about. Stay with us. Welcome back to Health and Wellness, Myths versus Facts. We're also being joined by Dr. Prakash Kumar Hazra, Head, Department of Cardiology and Director of Cardiac Cath Laboratory at the Amri Hospitals in Kolkata. Dr. Hazra, some people turn to food to comfort themselves when they're stressed out during the lockdown. This might have happened even more. Why does stress actually cause people to overeat? Are there food items that can actually help reduce the stress? What is your advice on this?
Food, a man is what he eats. The food has certain relationship with your healthy well-being, feel-good factor, good quality of life. But out of stress, people can eat either heavily, over-drinking, overeating, carbohydrate, junk food, frequent eating. But it can also happen in other directions, like they can go anorexic and they also start losing weight, they become thinner and sicker. So ideal would be a balanced diet which can comprise your fruits and vegetables and a small quantity, not excessive alcohol or junk food, less fat, less oil, more of protein. It has to be a balanced diet all the time. So once the stress is relieved, they come back to normalcy, and then a good diet which can give you good feeling in your stomach. Excessive eating or binge eating or binge drinking definitely unhealthy for your life.
Dr. Pradeep Kumar, what about irregular sleep? Can irregular sleep actually increase risk of cardiovascular problems? Can it in fact increase the risk of heart attacks?
So irregular sleep causes increase in the stress hormones, that cortisol, so which increases the blood pressure, increase in heart rate, so which in turn increases the possibility of heart diseases and heart attacks or sudden cardiac death. So this is one, there is one entity called obstructive sleep apnea, where we usually see the irregular, sleep is very disturbed sleep. So such patients, they have even irregular heart beatings. They themselves feel the heart beating very irregularly. And such patients even develop breathlessness on as minor activities, and eventually heart becomes weak, and they may develop a sudden cardiac death. So obviously irregular sleep leads to all these problems because of some hormonal imbalances within the body.
Dr. Kumar, when we feel the effects of stress weighing us down, it's almost like a physical sensation. It's like lugging something very heavy, something that's becoming heavier all the time. What stress-busting strategies would you suggest to our viewers so they can try and prevent health complications?
Yeah, so one of the most effective way of dealing with the stress is to organize your life. Suppose whatever you are planning to do the next day, so organize from morning to night what you want to do. So that is one thing. And second thing, coming to the therapy part, I'll suggest exercise. Exercise itself is as I've already told, it's a stress buster. And it will release some feel-good hormones, and it will increase the efficiency to deal with the level of the stress. And third thing is the diet. As Dr. Hajra already told, a balanced diet and avoid junk foods. Such things usually increases the level of stress. Though you are already on stress, this will increase the level of stress furthermore. So just have a balanced diet, include more of fruits and vegetables, more of antioxidants in your diet, so that it will bring down the stress, and it will help how to deal with the level of stress. And apart from the fourth thing is the meditation. Meditation will calm down, and it will also help how to deal with the level of stress. So these are the 4 factors I'll suggest.
Okay. Dr. Hajra, we've talked about what we can do proactively to try and minimize stress, but what about the things we're doing already which can actually contribute to stress? For instance, working from home, even for entertainment, if you can't really go out. Obviously, everyone's screen time has gone up leaps and bounds. People are watching more television because perhaps they don't have the same access to outdoor activity that they did before. Can minimizing screen time actually help to prevent heart disease? Is there a correlation? What have you seen?
That social media is actually creating a lot of problem. It is good if there is a moderation and if there is a limitations and restrictions by the parents and by yourself. Now, the Facebook and YouTube, the commonest social media, and their penetration is almost 4.7 billion in the world. And screen time basically can give rise some kind of addictions, visual addictions, auditory addictions, and you're glued. Your brain doesn't work basically when you are actually glued to the screen time. Actually, it gives a lot of negative hormones in your brain. Sleep is induced by adenosine and melatonin. These are 2 hormones are killed. So this natural biological thing gets hampered by your excessive screen time. So excessive use of social media, if it is crossing more than few hours, a normal average is around 3 hours, it can cause havoc to your brain, to your mental development, your diabetic status, hypertension, and it can lead to very abnormal behavior in children, adolescents, and maybe the elderly too. So nobody is spared from the excessive screen time.
Dr. Hajra, a quick follow-up to that. Is there a correlation between noise pollution and heart disease also?
This noise, air pollution, everybody knows that it increases a lung problem, heart problem. Nowadays, sound pollutions, any kind of noisy sound, abnormal ambience can disturb your sleep, can increase your stress hormones. You can stress level, you're feeling disturbed. The peace of mind, as suggested by our gurus, or this meditation, which can bring peace in your mind, in your soul, your brain, the cooling down of your brain, and improving your efficiency by relaxing your muscle and hormone in your brain and every cell, giving a rest, can give longer life, good quality of life, and can prolong life. So sound pollution is new risk factor for new generations in addition to the existing risk factors.
Right. Dr. Hajra, we were talking already about healthy and fit individuals passing away with sudden heart attacks. Your thoughts on whether stress can be one of the hidden causes of possible heart disease?
Yeah, as we are discussing today along with Dr. Pradeep, that you also has some experience. Young people dying at young age, apparently seeing them fit, healthy, doing good exercise and gym. But what could be the cause? Either they're doing excessive kind of exercise which can kill you, or they have some genetic predispositions, abnormal heart, like hypertrophy of cardiac muscles, some electrical channel disorders, or they are abusing certain things at younger age. For younger age people now, they abuse drugs, they abuse these energy drinks, or some kind of energy boosters also can kill these young people. And smoking is the commonest cause of this abuse in young heart, young people. So nobody is actually protected from the environmental cause of unhealthy heart. So you are right that these young people are dying is a point of concern, but we can do a lot by social media, by giving this message to the younger people You have to lead a normal, healthy life, less stress, less pollution, less anxiety, good diet, and a good family relationship with your wife, spending time with your family, your children can prolong your life.
Right, lots of very useful advice on today's show. Everything in moderation, whether it's exercise or food, the importance of yoga and meditation in keeping stress levels down, and of course, moderate your use of social media and the amount of time you spend online or looking at a screen. These are all things we can incorporate in our own lives bit by bit and make incremental changes that can have a profound impact on managing long-term chronic metabolic conditions. Dr. Pradeep Kumar, Dr. Prakash Kumar Hazra, thank you both so much for joining us on Health and Wellness Myths vs. Facts.